12-volt DC batteries from a company called DECA, and American Signal required two 12-volt DC batteries, but they did not list the manufacturer. Action met the specs with two 12-volt DC batteries, either AC, Delco, or Interstate batteries, which are available locally, which will help us to, be able to replace batteries easier than having to order them from somewhere else. Action Communications was the only bidder to do a site visit. They requested to look at the existing sites and they are familiar with the electrical issues. They actually included $500 in electrical work that was not requested in the bid specs because they knew of the issues that it's going to take to make this happen. So they actually, knowing that it might put them above another bidder, they went ahead and included that anyway. The current sirens, the Thunderbolts that are 1955 models, they all run on 440 volt power. This three-phase, and just to have a meter cost $100 a month. That may be wrong, but it's close to that. I know that these new sirens, they run on batteries and they only have a trickle charger that keeps the batteries up. So even if the power is knocked out, we can still sound the sirens. And this is going to save the city a couple of $1,000s a year in electricity, going from the 440 three-phase down to a single-phase 110. So all bids came under the approved grant amount of $52,377. The grant is a 75-25 split. And Action's bid $49,989.85. The federal share of that will be $37,492.38. The local share will be $12,497.47. The product that's offered by Action Communications is similar to the siren we already have in Northwood Park, and the pitch of the sirens is the same. The other two sirens had tones that had a higher pitch. We requested the sirens to be at 565 hertz. The other two did not meet that spec either. So in conclusion, my recommendation is that Action Communications be awarded the contract. Are there any questions?
Timeline for installation.
I'm sorry?
Timeline for installation.
I believe we put it in the bid that it would be 120 days.
Pending the frost coming out.
It has the same siren pitch, but there is no voice on it, right?
There is voice.
Oh, there is voice on it.
Yes. The sirens that we bid were voice sirens. We have not used the voice in the past, but now that we now have a voice siren, not only here in Northwood Park, but also Banner County has one in Harrisburg. Morrill has one near the ball fields, and with these two, we will be moving towards more voice sirens where we can actually use that technology that we haven't used in the past.
Well, that's what I thought, but I thought a couple of meetings ago we did it for no voice, so I'm confused now.
My apologies, I screwed up on that. That was my fault, not Tim's.
Okay.
I misinterpreted the document, so I apologize.
Just maybe more of a rhetorical question, but, and it also probably goes back to the RFP that we're putting out for the landfill, but why would a company send in a proposal that is so far off from what you asked for? It doesn't make sense to me at all.
I can't answer that question because they knew what the specs were. Excuse me. A couple of our specs that we did have were inadvertently geared more towards the Whelen siren, but even if we take those and throw them out, there's still so much more that don't meet the rest of the specs that that shouldn't really matter, so.
Yeah, it just seems to me that from what you're saying, we're so far off on so many different things that it's just strange to me.
I
We've seen
can't
that
answer
quite
that.
often. Seen that on a couple road projects and,
Yeah.
yeah. I think sometimes they're hoping that council turns their head and nobody goes through them and just looks at dollars. And that, I think that's why we changed about 8 years ago that we look at the specs first and then the dollar amount.
Right,
So we
and,
have somebody look at it that knows what they're looking at, instead of the council going, huh.
Looks cheap. Yeah.
I appreciate you going through and showing the differences, because that does make a big difference.
It helps a lot.
right, thank you.
And going back in time, thank you for putting these on the hazard mitigation, because if you would not have done that, we wouldn't be in line for the 75% match.
Right,
So it goes back even further. So what you did several years ago brings us to where we're at today. Thank you for that.
right, and I'm sorry that it's taken this long. You know, we had a change of scope letter into FEMA for longer than their period to take care of that was 45 days. The day after we sent our letter in, Harvey happened, and then Irma happened, and then, you know, we had 3 major hurricanes and then wildfires in Colorado, or in California, and there was nobody in the FEMA office for like 6 months. So they could not approve our letter because they weren't there. But once they started filtering back into the office in Kansas City, they finally got that approved and got it back to us. So I apologize that it took so long, but part of that was not my fault.
My biggest problem with the whole thing has been no voice. So I'm glad to hear that there's actually voice, because I didn't understand the direction we were going, I guess, so.
Yeah.
But
My-
since there's voice, I'm okay.
My vision for the future is that as we replace sirens, we replace them with the voice
Well,
sirens.
That's what I thought you had said, so that's why I was confused, because,
They're lighter weight, they're less likely to break down, there's no moving parts in them. If we get them made with these composite materials, actually, I spoke with Rick Durr, and he said, I don't know how to work on them because we've never had to work on one. We put them up and they just work, and we've never really had to do very much maintenance on those.
if you don't need the voice, that's great. But if you need it, it's nice to have. so.
Right. One of my biggest things was, you know, it happened before my time with the benzene spill, and how if we have a siren that we can set off and then say, there's been a chemical spill at this location, then people don't go that direction when they're, you know, we tell the people, hear the sirens, go
Some of the
inside.
people don't go that direction.
Right.
You're gonna have to give them a fake location, Tim.
Yeah. We tell people, you know, when you hear the sirens, go inside and turn on the radio. Well, if we haven't had time to tell the radio stations what the problem is, then they go inside and they drive through the cloud to get to their home to go inside, and we've not had a chance to tell the radio stations what the problem is. So, I'm very,
Sometimes the radio station puts out what they think the problem is when it isn't the problem, like ammonia, which it wasn't. But hey, you know,
All right. So I'm looking for a motion to approve Action Communication in the amount of $49,989.85 as the best bid.
I'll move approval.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Caldwell?
Yes.
Meininger?
Yes.
Shaver?
Yep.
Thank you, Tim.
thank you.
11A, council to consider a revised handicap parking space resolution. Nathan?
Yes, Your Honor, in front of you tonight is a revised resolution for handicap parking throughout the city. The major revisions here are due to the bump outs in the downtown district on Broadway. Staff is recommending approval of the resolution.
Okay, and Mark, just for the public's information, we now have the handicap stalls on Broadway with the bulb outs. We have those so that they can get back onto the sidewalks without having to get into traffic, correct?
Correct, and they're all the new ADA required dome accessible
Because
handicap.
prior to that, they actually had to come around into traffic to get back on the
Correct.
curb.
Yeah, so we meet all the standards.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion to approve or deny? Yes, go ahead. Absolutely.
Katie Bradshaw, and I actually came just to hear the updates on the Monument Valley Pathway, but when I saw this item on the agenda, I wanted to comment. From the Active Living Advisory Committee that I'm on, Renee Berry, who some of you may know, she had West Nile and uses a wheelchair. She's been, I think even though some of those parking places meet the requirements, because of her ramp van, she has difficulty still using with the angled parking because the ramp hits the curb. And she was gonna come to a city council meeting and talk about that, but I think it's difficult for her to get out, especially this time of year. And then Mindy Baird with Disability Rights Nebraska has been coming to several meetings, and some of her clients have been having difficulty. And it seems like there needs to be a communication connection made. And so would you be the best person to chat with on that? Okay. So the next meeting of the Active Living Advisory Committee is January 22nd at noon in the Panhandle Co-op Training Center. So if maybe we could chat after, but, okay, so, thank you.
Hey, Katie. Scott, you're,
Yeah, I'm supposed to be on the
He's
committee,
supposed
but
to be,
this is the first time I've heard about a meeting, so I'll try to be on the
Oh,
22nd.
right on, okay.
I didn't know that they were going on, because I hadn't heard about them, so.
Yeah, they're like, is it every month, I think, like the third Monday or something like that?
Okay.
Janelle Hansen and Jessica Davies with Panhandle Public Health District manage the email list.
Okay.
So I will make sure to give them a heads up that you
Okay.
haven't been included on all that.
Yeah, I'll try to get there.
Okay.
Katie, if
noon,
you want to send me their
22nd.
contact information, I can send it on to Scott. If you
Okay.
Do that, okay?
Great. Yes, I will do that.
Cool, I appreciate it.
Okay,
Great, thanks, Katie.
thank you.
Anybody else? All right, looking for a motion to approve or deny.
I don't know what the one before it said, but I didn't see a problem with this one, so I'll move to approve it.
I'll second it, call the roll.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Caldwell?
yes.
Meininger?
Yes.
Shaver?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
12A, council consider approval of economic development assistant grant for the Mitchell Care Center. Star.
Yes, good evening. Star Lael, Economic Development Director for the City of Scottsbluff. Before you have an application for $306,400 from Rural Health Development Incorporated. This is for the Mitchell Care Center located in Mitchell, Nebraska. This would be a project to retain 55 full-time jobs and 30 part-time jobs in Mitchell, Nebraska. But the majority of the staff either lives, here in Scottsbluff or the area, and they also spend a lot of the vendors spend money here in Scottsbluff, over $252,000 just in Scottsbluff, $361,000 in the county annually. So I would recommend approval of the LB 840 grant for Mitchell Health Center and the Rural Health Development. And Shane is here from the Rural Health Development, Inc., if you have any questions.
Just one question for you. The statutes do not allow monies from one public entity, such as City of Scottsbluff, to the City of Mitchell. But this is to the firm that's doing the management. It's not to the City of Mitchell.
Exactly. This is to the management firm, Rural Health Development Incorporated. It's not directly to the City of Mitchell.
You said this is for job retention. What happens if we don't do this?
They have a possibility of closing the doors. So I don't think it's pretty vital that they receive the funds.
It's a big impact.
It's a huge impact to the area.
So what is the city's role in the facility?
Jeff Sprock with the City of
'Cause
Mitchell.
I know that we can't give money to a different city.
Right.
And I want to make sure this isn't just a buffer to make us be able to do something we shouldn't do.
Sure. Jeff Sprock with City Administrator from the City of Mitchell. The city's involvement with the facility is we own the Care Center facility. and Rural Health Development then manages it. They have a PEO, which employs all the employees. The 50 full-time and the 30 part-time are all part of our HD through the PEO.
So they're not employees of the city of Mitchell?
They are not employees of the city of Mitchell.
And how many beds are in the facility?
There are 50 beds, correct, Stephanie? And 16 assisted living apartments.
And what's the census right now there?
Stephanie, why don't you come on up?
It varies, so best to have that.
I'm going to sign in.
Yes, please. You're welcome.
I'm Stephanie Hod. I'm the administrator over there. Current census right now is 50 residents on the nursing home side and 10 in our assisted living. So we only have 12 units in our assisted living, but some of them are dual certified, so we can have 16 residents. So we have 2 open rooms right now.
And with the, did you pick up any residents with the closing or the, well, it is, the Nursing Home and Alliance?
We ended up working with Hemingford, and Hemingford ended up getting a lot of the Alliance residents, and then we took some of the residents from Hemingford that had residents, families around here. So we kind of switched residents.
I know that's a big deal because being involved with medicine and transportation, a lot of times we're moving patients, residents, hundreds of miles away from their families.
Right.
So I commend you on working that out with them because trying to get them back and get the family nucleus back is big.
Right.
Other questions of Stephanie?
What, I guess from the past to now with the new management company, what have you guys done differently? What are you doing to make sure that the money that we're giving is going to be managed appropriately and put to good use? What has changed?
Okay, so on my side and on Shane's side, we're keeping our department heads more accountable as far as for their budget purposes. We've always been relatively full census-wise. We've never really had an issue of being low census because we accept the Medicaid residents, whereas a lot of the facilities in the area don't accept a lot of Medicaid residents. A lot of them in the area only allow a certain number of Medicaid, and all of our beds are dual certified, so we can have either or. I know with this grant that it is going to help pay for the management fees, but then in that aspect, then we'll put the money aside that we would be spending on our management into a savings account to pay for the bond. Does that kind of answer your question? A little bit?
Yeah, so currently, I mean, retention is a big thing in healthcare today.
Right.
At cost, and I see the ads in the paper a lot for administration and nurses, and so, so is that getting better? Is staff staying longer? Do you have the current administration in place to be able to carry out your goals?
Yeah, I would say we just got a new DON that actually came from Hemingford, and she's probably been there 4 months or so, and she's really doing a very good job at keeping nursing around and actually bringing nursing to this area as far as for nursing. And I think that's the hardest job to retain employees, or the hardest department, just because there's so many nursing facilities around, hospitals, whatever, that they can just bounce from place to place. And so especially your nurse aides are very hard to retain, and she's doing a very good job at retaining those people.
Other comments, questions?
I apologize. Tell me again how many residents you have?
Right now, we have 50 on the nursing home side and 10 on our assisted living.
I think it's something that's really important for our area. I don't deny that. I am not comfortable with the city's relationship with it. I think it's concern. Regardless of what legal thinks, that's my feeling on it, so.
I wouldn't expect anything less, Scott.
There we go. But
I don't believe any money's going to a political subdivision or a government agency.
No, exactly. Well, I get it, I just, where they own it, I find a problem with it, so.
Well, the unfortunate part is if they don't get their money, we have 50, 60 citizens that don't have a place to stay.
Yep.
And the other nursing homes in the area are either closing or they're full or they're short-staffed, so, I don't think we have.
They don't accept the patients.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, that's why I said I don't think it's a problem with it being a useful thing or a needed thing. My problem is with the city. That's my biggest concern, so.
Do you mind if I make a comment to that?
Absolutely, Jeff.
I'm gonna sign in this time. Just to speak to Mitchell's contribution, Mitchell also has an LB 840 economic development group, and we're going to be committing a quarter of our our yearly budget to this project as well. So it's not money going to the city of Mitchell; it's money going to the management services, and Mitchell is going to be contributing a quarter of their LB 840 money to this project as well. So, any questions?
Any other questions from council? I'd make a motion to approve.
second,
Call the roll.
Caldwell.
yes.
Meininger.
Yes.
Shaver.
No.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
12E, council receive an update on the Monument Valley Pathway Project.
Mark Bowl, Public Works Director.
Hi, Mark.
And I have 30 minutes, I guess, according to Nathan.
45. You only have 45.
3, I may have misconstrued that. But anyway, it's been a while since we've talked about our pathway. And so I left you with a little map, and this is the final route that we're going to take. And actually, this thing, this pathway started in late 2012, if you'll recall. It's taken a little while to get a final alignment. We needed to get to that final alignment, though, to begin the right-of-way process, which now we've been funded. So the state has looked at this. They do know where those properties are that we need to get right-of-way purchased. They'll actually come in and do that. It used to be I would go out and purchase those right-of-ways, but rules changed, and so the state will come in and do that. It's 6 miles in length, give or take a few tenths. Its estimated cost right now is about $6 million. It'll have 2 bridges, and the path, as you'll recall and can see there, the 2 bridges are behind the school. We have 1 bridge that spans the ditch, and then I have the big span that crosses Highway 26. That's all a single span that won't have any center column in the state's right-of-way or in their center column or their island there. I'll span it all at one time. It's all ADA accessible on both ends. So we gum up over and we drop down at Grace Chapel. And then we'll fence off along Highway 26 where it goes over to Fifth. So those folks that are using it, they can come down, they can either go north up to Avenue B, where it goes to the hospital. They can take Fifth over, they can go up Fifth to the soccer complex, and then the path continues on to, terminates at the college. So those are really the highlights. It's still, actually, its projected letting is 2019, the winter of 2019. That's how long we think it's gonna take to get right away. There's about 35 parcels that we're gonna deal with. Some are small, some are fairly large. I did this in Alliance, and it took me a little over a year to acquire those right-of-ways. So, again, you know, if you have any questions on its alignment, that's kind of a small print, but I just wanted to update you where we are today, is that we are actually in the right-of-way phase. They have accepted this as the final design, and where we're going to start at the zoo and we end at the college, with a spur that goes up to the hospital and a spur that you can take up to the soccer complex. And the final goal would be, when this is all constructed, would be to, the next phase, bring it from the college down along the Scottsbluff drain where we purchased those properties, and we were either gonna open or some of that drain, and we would actually end up back at the Y. So you'd have a 15 or 16-mile path. But this is the update as to where we are today. And I don't know when the last time we visited about this, but
A while.
it's been a spell, yeah. So that is the final route that's been approved by the feds. It's an 80-20 split, as well as the right-of-way. They'll come in, they'll purchase. Once the deeds are recorded at the courthouse, we'll pay, and then they'll reimburse us back. We'll fill out the forms, and a lot of paperwork with the feds, but that's accountability. And so far, we're still on track. Still looks like a 2019 winter letting. I don't see that changing as of right now. But that's just a quick update on where we're at, and I'd happy to answer any of your questions, but that's kind of the alignment that we had talked about way back in 13, 14, up to where we are today. We've had to do a little bit of tweaking on the path. You'll see a little, as you go north of Grace Chapel, you'll see a little zig and a zag. Before right-of-way was purchased, before they came in, there's a home been built. And so I've had to bring that out around that house, but that all was approved. There was no issue there. It just brings it a little closer to Fifth. But we've worked through all the other issues, and we're still on track.
So this will cut straight across the middle of Northwood Park and kill the rest of it, right?
It will go through Northwood Park.
Yeah. Kill the rest of the open spaces. Sweet, okay.
There's still a little green space left for maybe some other things that could go, but no, it takes a little bit apart.
Right through the middle.
Well, and then they can enjoy the amenities of the park.
Great, thanks.
The skate park that's over there, they enjoy the skate park.
Yeah, that's a wonderful place to be. Thanks.
Right, Katie?
Thanks, Mark.
Anything you want to add? Subtract?
Suppose I could say, if there's any sort of support that you need for this project or help, there's a whole heck of a lot of people that are really excited about this happening. So we could rally the troops if there's any difficulties what need to be bulldozed.
And we do appreciate that, and it's federally funded. And so what a group could do, if they were so inclined, is as this pathway continues, if they wanted to donate benches, none of that can be done as part of this federal job. This is our project, so those funds are, but things can be donated. Again, as benches or water fountains or things along the way, those then can be added, specialty groups.
None of the actual project can be done from somebody else,
Correct.
but anything additional
Yep.
can.
The hands-on are ours. And
Any other questions, comments from council? Thank you, Mark. Okay, 13, the purpose of this agenda item is allow for public comment of items of potential discussion in future council meetings. Comments brought to the council are for information only. The council will not take any action on the item except to refer to staff to address or place on a future council agenda. Comment period is limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there anybody that has anything under public comment? All right. Council reports.
Pad meeting is next Thursday at Chamber Conference Room.
Okay. Next week is the seniors board meeting. Youth council?
Comes back next week.
Okay.
Well, school starts, I'm not sure if they're back, but yeah.
All right, seeing no other items come before the council, ask for a motion to adjourn.
I have
Yep.
a quick
hang on.
Quick question, sorry. With the new county road runner transportation going to happen next week for police and for roads, are you, with the stops